What is up? What is up? My name is Wulf Hogan, and you are listening to The Wulf Hogan Show. Or, if you're watching this on YouTube, you are watching The Wulf Hogan Show. The greatest podcast on earth to fall asleep to. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a bit about the new action sci-fi film that just came out called Godzilla vs. Kong. So Godzilla vs. Kong is directed by Adam Wingard. It is starring Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Julian Dennison, Rebecca Hall, and Brian Tyree Henry. So I'm just going to get right into it, as I usually do. I enjoyed this film for what it's worth. Lately I've been focused a lot on the Derek Chauvin murder trial of George Floyd, so it was nice taking a break mentally and just hopping into some nonsense like this film. I'm not trying to downplay the film at all. It's just not something to be taken seriously. And it's funny that I say that because I was talking to a buddy of mine and we were comparing the 2014 Godzilla with the Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think that was 2019. I'm not sure. And this film, they're very different films. And I think they differ so much because the fans were really vocal about the first film. I remember when I went into the theaters to see the film, I didn't know what to expect, so I just went in with a blank slate because the last Godzilla I'd seen was the one from 1998, was it? 96 or 98 with Matthew Broderick. And I enjoyed that one when I was younger. And then I revisited it a couple of times as an adult. And it was, you know what? I'll say it. It was a piece of garbage. It was a giant toy commercial because I remember after that film came out, they had so many different toys. They had full-grown Godzilla toys. They had little baby Godzilla toys. They had the Godzilla eggs that when you pressed a button, the baby would hatch out. It was a cash grab, and I understand that now. But the 2014 Godzilla film, it was the one that was based most in reality, and I say that knowing that it's a film about a giant lizard coming out of the ocean and destroying things. But it was based more in reality. It was more character driven. A lot of the advertisements were, they featured Bryan Cranston, like he was like the what do you call it? What is it? The selling point is that the term? Like he was used to advertise the film. So seeing him in the trailer, I was like, dude, he's a heavy hitter. I'm a fan of Breaking Bad. He's gonna come with the waterworks. He's gonna hit us right in the feels, and that was true for the most part. He wasn't in the entire film, but they marketed the film as like a gut-wrenching thriller. Let's see, I think it's Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen were two other main characters in the film. And they really didn't show Godzilla that much in that movie. And I liked it like that. I think if they would have shown too much of Godzilla, we would have gotten tired of it. And we wouldn't... And him coming out of nowhere and killing things, killing people and knocking down buildings wouldn't really hit as hard if he was doing it the whole time, if that makes any sense. And I think after that movie came out, it was received pretty well, I think, but fans were like, we want more Godzilla. Enough of this whiny bullshit. We want to see Godzilla fucking some shit up. So then Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, and that was nothing but action, which was cool. It was a little too I don't know. It was a little too much like Pacific Rim for me. But it was what the fans wanted. They wanted some monsters, so they got some monsters. The people in the film is something that I found interesting, and I'll circle back to that once I start talking about Godzilla vs. Kong. The first film was based the most in reality. Then they went a little bit more fanciful with the second film, and this film was just out there. Like, the technology is just like the most futuristic technology you could imagine. The story is just all over the place, and it's way different than anything I expected from this franchise. And that's saying a lot, because the franchise is based in giant kaiju, coming up out of the earth and wreaking havoc. So, enough rambling. Let's get right back into Godzilla vs. Kong. The people in the film. I liked the use of human characters in the first Godzilla. The use of characters was... It moved the story along in the first two films. But in Godzilla vs. Kong, I think the people were just pointless. I guess they moved the story along, but I think the film would have worked without any human beings in it at all. And that says a lot. Alexander Skarsgård's character was just like this washed up author or something like that. I don't know. I don't think that he had any connection to any of the other characters in the other movies. But he was just like some weird guy who was tasked with going to the center of the earth to retrieve an energy source, some radioactive energy source. Apparently all the kaiju are from the center of the earth. Kong, Godzilla, Ghidorah, all of those giant monsters. And I guess his character was just like a kooky, offbeat scientist guy, which is okay, I guess. I really don't know what I was expecting, so I really can't say. I really don't want to talk too much shit. Millie Bobby Brown's character, I think, was probably the most pointless character in this film. The last film, I could see where she fit in a little bit, but in this film, it was her, Brian Tyree Henry, and Julian Dennison. They were, all three of them were, I don't even really remember what they were doing. All three of them, they were on a mission or something to find out something. I guess they were just used to reveal to us what the Ghidorah severed head was used for in the post-credit scene in the last film. So they find that, and we find out they're using that head as a power source for Mechagodzilla. So I don't know. I just feel like their characters, their whole storyline was just a little pointless. And again, I have nothing against the actors or the writers of the film. I just thought that it just felt a little weird to me, seeing them aimlessly running around. Although, what I just said, although I found their whole storyline a little random, I think I did like Brian Tyree Henry's character in the film. He was this conspiracy theorist guy with this podcast, and he's pretty much I think it was Woody Harrelson's character from that movie 2012. He's got this conspiracy podcast, and he's like, you know, manic, and he's like running around, like, you know, always dropping his papers and like looking around, like doing weird stuff. And I thought his character was pretty funny. Kyle Chandler comes back. It's his same character. He really doesn't do much in the film. He does like the same thing. He's always like behind some control panel, like barking orders. Rebecca Hall, she was like the Kong Whisperer in this film. I don't remember her in any of the other films, but she was like she was responsible for Kong, and she adopted like the last surviving person from that Skull Island tribe. I guess they all died for some reason, and the only one left was a little girl, and I guess she adopted her, and the girl was like deaf or whatever. So they do like sign language with each other all the time, which is going to come into play later on. And yeah, I mean, I like sort of liked her character. She was one of the only ones who I felt really saw the big creatures as like living things instead of just mindless monsters. But overall, I think without people, I think the film would have been kind of weird. But I believe they could have made a standalone Godzilla vs. King Kong movie without people. That would have been kind of interesting. I guess there would be a lot less dialogue, but I say that because they gave Godzilla and King Kong more human characteristics in this film. And by that I mean, there was one part where Godzilla was like, he had the upper hand. And when he was like inflicting pain on King Kong, he was like smiling. He was like getting like sick pleasure out of hurting King Kong, which I found weird. Because in the other two films, he was just like this hulking, mindless beast. And I found that a little weird. I felt like the two monsters were communicating with each other more, or you know what I mean? Because in the other films, they really didn't show any type of communication between them. Maybe some like screeches or things like that, sort of like a standoffs. But in this film, it felt like the monsters were smarter. King Kong learned sign language from the little deaf girl, which is weird. I mean, it's like that film Congo from the 90s. So maybe they did that so we would feel empathy towards King Kong. He's like the last of his kind. He's intelligent. He can learn sign language, which no one knew he learned sign language until like way later on in the film. It's like the overseer, Rebecca Hall's character, is like with Kong like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and she didn't notice a little girl teaching him sign language. That's kind of weird, but whatever. The sign language thing was a nice touch though. I've always liked King Kong more than Godzilla, but after seeing him like do like sign language like home, I mean, he didn't say home, but he was like, I don't know what the sign is for home, but he was doing like sign for home, and like Alexander Skarsgård's character, he was tasked with getting them to the center of the earth to find the power source. So he needed King Kong to guide them there. So he had the little girl communicate with King Kong to ask him, will you take us to the center of the earth? He wanted her to tell him that that his family might be down there. So it was kind of interesting seeing the little girl like speaking in full sentences to this giant ape monster, and him like responding back and stuff. All very far-fetched. I mean, not only is the fact that there are giant creatures that spawned from the center of the earth, roaming the planet, destroying things. Not only is that far-fetched, the fact that said ape monster learns to communicate with human beings with American Sign Language is even more far-fetched. And lastly, I want to talk about Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla was pretty cool. Mechagodzilla was a mechanical Godzilla created by this. Now I see he was evil. This evil scientist gentleman who he wanted that power source from the center of the earth so he could power Mechagodzilla, so humanity would have a monster of our own to fight against these kaiju that were coming out of nowhere. So what ended up happening was they use the head of, or one of the severed heads from Ghidorah to power Mechagodzilla. And in the process, the Ghidorah head uploads its consciousness in Mechagodzilla. I don't know if this is what happened in like the black and white old Godzilla from way back in the day, but the consciousness of the Ghidorah head, uploads into Mechagodzilla, and then he becomes all evil and starts fucking shit up, starts killing Godzilla. Kong comes out of nowhere, and they had this huge fight. I wish that fight would have lasted for a lot longer. I think they could have taken out a lot of the like side story scenes of like, Millie Bobby Brown, Julian and Bride Tyree Henry, like their whole thing. I think they could have cut that in half. I think they could have like cut out a bunch of the scenes with the little girl bonding with King Kong. I think they could have shaved down those human scenes and given us like a much longer Mechagodzilla end battle. I think that would have been kind of cool, but I've never written like a script like this, so I really have no room to talk. I'm just coming at it, or just viewing it from a fan standpoint. I really wouldn't consider myself a Godzilla fan, but I do enjoy the Godzilla universe. But, I feel terrible like saying anything negative about, this film. Because at the end of the day, it's just an action film, a sci-fi action film, and it does its job. It's entertaining, and I hope they continue making films in this universe. So I want to hear your feedback. If you're watching this on YouTube, please tell me what you thought of the film in the comments. If you think I'm a complete lunatic for thinking anything negative about this film, please let me know in the comments. Tell me what you thought. If you are listening to this in podcast form, you can send me an email at thewulfhoganshow@gmail.com. That's Wolf with a U. Or you can go to the anchor link on one of my social media platforms and send a voice message. I want to hear what you thought of this film. Also, I want to know where you think this universe is headed. I don't know if this is the last film that they plan on doing. I don't know if there's been any other sequels mentioned. I mean, I know the film just came out, so I don't think they would announce any type of sequel anytime soon. I want them to do another film with Mechagodzilla. I think that character, it's not really much of a character, it's just like a fucking robot, but I think that character is pretty badass. So just let me know what you think in the comments. Also, if you would like to follow me on any social media platforms, you can find me on Twitter at Wolf Hogan Show, or on Instagram at The Wolf Hogan Show. We also have a Patreon, so if you would like to show some support, you can go to patreon.com/TheWolfHogan. Thank you so much for listening or watching. I know these are trying times, so please be safe, be kind to one another. God bless, and peace out.